What's up guys, hope you all are doing great. Today we have two interesting cars from Audi, the 2017 R8 and the 2017 RS7. I should say the R8 V10 Plus. I'm a big fan of both these cars, and today obviously is not a review, it's just kind of a quick side-by-side comparison of the two, because these cars, even though they are so different from each other, they are really similar as well. And for the true hardcore Audi guys or girls, they're familiar with that. You'd think we'd compare something like this, which is a V10. Normally the go-to comparison to this car would be a Huracan, like a Lamborghini Huracan. But honestly, this is a very underrated vehicle as well from Audi. This is kind of known to be like a family car sedan that's also a supercar killer as well, and that we'll kind of see later on in the video. I honestly love both cars dearly, like I said. The 2017 is apparently when they did the facelift, and then they did another facelift as well. I'm a fan of the facelift of these cars. The reason I have these with me right now in 2025 is because I really do think these cars are a good buy at the moment. Cars like this, as we know, are not really going to be manufactured anymore. The Audi R8 V10 is such a great platform because it's very comfortable. I would even say it's more comfortable than the Huracan, definitely. That's why you have a lot of people that when they're in a debate what kind of supercar to buy and what kind of their entry game, let's say, into the supercar world is usually an R8, because it really is a lot more versatile, I would say, than the Huracan, and that's just my opinion, so don't attack me for it. This particular one actually sounds incredible because of its titanium exhaust system, and it has a quite aggressive tune from GINTANI. Also has lowering springs, so it does have that extra nimble feel. That one is a sneaky large machine. That one is pushing about 800 horsepower, probably 900 torque, and it's running methanol. So both these cars are quite interesting, very similar and very different at the same time. We'll get into the details later. I'm going to introduce you to the owner, Mo, and he'll walk you through some of the stuff over here. But I think these are one of the best buys you can do in 2025, because you are saving a ton of money compared to a brand new vehicle. And if you find them in pre-owned condition, they are just really special cars, as you'll see later on in the video. Alright guys, so I'm gonna let the owner of these cars walk you through them. Here he is, my good friend Mo.
Good to see you.
Habibi, bro.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, brother. So yeah, I mean, you own, I think, two of the greatest cars from Audi. So walk me through. This definitely does not sound stock at all. It really sounds, and I'm not just saying this, you know, I really think this is one of the best sounding R8s I've seen. I know you don't know the name of the exhaust. It is titanium though.
Yeah, custom titanium exhaust. I can't take the credit for it because the previous owner did all the aftermarket upgrades on the car. Yeah.
Any tunes, anything you want to walk me through? Because it didn't also feel too stock. It felt a little bit more lively, more spirited when I was driving it.
Right. So it's got stage 1 GINTANI tune. It's got the titanium exhaust, lowered on springs as well. So, and it's got a bunch of the aftermarket carbon fiber that's been added to the existing carbon fiber options that come with the plus trim. Mm-hmm. It's got the upgraded carbon fiber steering wheel as well, X carbon fiber brace.
I gotta show them this because the steering wheel on this car really looks beautiful. I'm a big fan of
that was one of the big
of these carbon wheels that they make here.
Right.
You know, this is
so that's an aftermarket one from a company called Charismo. And they also under factory warranty they did the custom stitching, because I didn't even know this, but it doesn't do the color matching stitching with the R8s, that they did that just to match the Vegas yellow.
I thought that was factory, because you know it really complements the yellow and the carbon and all that stuff, so
right,
it works well. And yeah man, these ceramics work great. Yes. I felt them work very well, thankfully. You warmed them up for me, which is good.
Right.
Otherwise they probably wouldn't be so bitey. But yeah, it's really, it sounds very, very great. I'm in love with this color. The last R8 review that I did was the R8 had a Grün color. It's called Grün. It's like a green. And as I've noticed, all these colors are kind of like Porsche colors. Do you know the name of this specific paint code?
Vegas yellow.
Vegas yellow. I'm willing to bet it's a Porsche color.
Yes.
I really am. And they're all the same, the Audi VW group.
Because even though I don't have one right now, I am a Porsche guy. I had a Porsche 911S before this.
That's true. You did have a Porsche.
Yes, and I love that car. So I grew up loving Porsches, and so always a big fan of the Porsche Speed Yellow.
Yeah.
So it was just it seemed like all the stars were aligning coming up with a yellow R8.
These are as always, they're 6-piston, right? 6-piston calipers.
Right.
I love the way they put the Audi logo. I'm a fan when car manufacturers put their brand on the caliper. It's a thing for me.
Absolutely.
Can we pop the rear? I want to say pop the hood, but it's in the back. So
absolutely.
Can we pop both of them? Let's just show the space.
Yeah.
I will tell you, Mo, that this car, whatever is done to it, it drives more nimble than the current versions that I've driven, like 2020, 22.
Really?
Yeah, it's something. It could be the lowering springs. I love the V10.
Now, I will say, without a doubt, Porsche's Francs, much better.
Really?
Yeah, there's very little space.
I mean, yeah. But that's why you got that.
Exactly. Exactly.
You don't need much space in this. That's why that's there.
Right.
Can we also? We'll get into the RS7, but I just want to pop the hood from now, just to kind of give a comparison of the engines. Right, there she is. Okay, so I can see some non-stock stuff here. Can you come and walk me through this as well?
Yeah, so it's stage 2. Originally it was APR, but because it wouldn't pass inspection, we switched it to a stage 2 Eurofed tune.
Okay.
It's got the aftermarket intakes. It's also running an Aquamist methanol system.
So this is running meth?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's why it does actually, which is kind of shocking, it does have quite a bit of an edge on the R8, whether it's from standstill or rolling. But
right.
That being said, that did impress me too, because again, we're not comparing two stock fully cars. I mean, that still does have a tune and an exhaust at the end of the day, and that can add a bit of performance, and
right.
Not as much as this, but still stock turbos, I'm assuming.
Yes,
yeah.
Correct. Yep.
Stock turbos.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so don't quote me on it, but it should be pushing a little over 800 horsepower to the crank on the RS7, close to 900 torque.
I believe it, man. These RS7s, they, with a simple tune and a couple of like stage 2, like you said, modification, it's got the potential. I mean, 800 horsepower, 900 torque on a sedan is quite ridiculous, to be honest. It's and this is a car. Look how much trunk space you have here. Is that an ice box?
Well, this is the reservoir for the meth.
Okay. Damn. It looks like an icebox for a supercharger, but yeah, I can see the meth.
Right.
That's
right.
crazy.
Yeah, so
That's
plenty
cool.
of space. You know, get your groceries real quick.
You can have your wife and your kids in here and still like shame a supercar when you're, flooring it.
That's right.
That's crazy. I do like that this has the ceramic brakes. I'm a big fan of those as well, because this thing is a lump. It's quite heavy, and you want that extra stopping power. What's funny to me is I'm not sure. Again, I cannot speak because I'm not an expert, but does the disc on the RS7 look bigger than the one on the R8? I think it's a bigger ceramic disc, or is that just an illusion?
You might be right. I think it might be just maybe an inch.
I think it is.
An inch bigger?
I think it is a little bit bigger, and probably there's a reason for that. Like I said, this is a much heavier car than that, so you need a little bit more
right.
stopping power.
I think the curb weight in the RS7 is about 4,500 pounds.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's heavy.
It is heavy. But hey, BMW is getting really heavy as well, so.
That's right.
Yeah. This is a 2017, so it shouldn't be that heavy. Probably the new ones will get heavier and heavier.
Right.
But yeah. Both great cars, man. I mean, honestly, I know it's a stupid question. I like to ask this to the owner of the cars usually. Which one would you prefer to keep if you had the option to sell one?
I mean, the RS7 is probably favorite car I've ever owned just because it does everything so well.
Yeah.
You can take it on long trips. You know, the wife and I, we did 14-hour drive to Cape Cod, there and back. It just does everything so well. But having since gotten the R8, I am driving the RS7 less and less.
Yeah.
This is just the sounds, the way it drives, the way it feels. It's just everything about it is just intoxicating. So
I don't want to say this, but they're kind of really similar. I mean, this is I think the one car situation that you don't really need to have both, I think, because that can do a lot of what this can, and this can do a lot of what that can, with the exception of that front space, obviously.
Right. It's super weird because they're completely different cars. You know, price points and everything aside, they're completely different cars, but they're so similar.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. So yeah, I mean, I would probably keep the R8 over the RS7 just because it's a joy to drive.
Yeah, I think also the unique color combo, the like you said, it is a sporty kind of car, more nimble, more lightweight. This is definitely less of a family car than that, obviously, because you're not putting kids in the back or anything. But yeah, it's cool. So that's a good question, because sometimes when I ask this question, not everybody can answer it because it's pretty difficult. It's a pretty shitty question to ask. So
well, I mean, it's a great question because ironically, a lot of people, even though they're such different cars, they might be looking at both cars.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though they're wildly different. So yeah.
I honestly think a few people would be looking at this generation car in this day and age, because these cars, for example, like this car is a $200,000 plus vehicle, and that's a $140-something thousand plus vehicle MSRP.
Right.
But you can get one of these things in today's days for like what, 69, 70,000, something like that, in great shape as well. And I don't even know how much this would. What do you think? If somebody was to watch this and say, "Hey, dude, I love the R8. I want to find me a clean 2017 R8 V10 Plus like this." What do you think is a realistic market value that someone would be looking at for this? Because I'm not too experienced with the Audi market.
Right. Depending on the trim, the mileage, the condition, any aftermarket upgrades have been done to it, you know, I think that you would find a really good one within the 120 to 150 range.
So that's still like almost half that. Like, you're taking advantage of it, because if you find a clean one of these in 2025, I know, fine, it might not have the factory warranty and it's a little bit older, it has a couple of years of age, but you're still not spending 100 grand almost, and you might actually get a 2-owner car or something like that that's been very well taken care of. So you keep 100 grand and you get an amazing vehicle. Because I'm talking from experience. I've driven the new models. I've driven the new R8s, and sometimes the more you drive these things, you start to realize the subtle differences. But at the end of the day, for someone who's just coming into the supercar world, it's not really going to make that big of a difference.
Right.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And for anyone that's wanting to get into supercars and haven't had one, similar to my situation, this is a great entry because it's bulletproof, it's safe, it's reliable.
That's true.
And you're not going to lose a ton of money on it, because I feel personally that the R8 market has stabilized. It's not going to drop below 100K for a good quality V10 Plus.
And realistically, I like to always mention the Huracan when I talk about the R8, because, you know, the Huracan price point is very different from the R8 price point. That you're looking at the 100 extra grand almost for like a similar year, decent Huracan.
Right.
And in my opinion, I think that extra, whatever, 100K or whatever thousand, don't quote me on it, is, in my opinion, not worth it unless you're just obsessed and you want that Lamborghini look and you want the Lamborghini badge. But in terms of drivability, in terms of performance, in terms of everything, I know this might be a tiny bit slower because there's no way the Audi group would let physically it's impossible. They will not let the R8 be quicker than the Huracan, just for the sake, because that's the Lamborghini and this has the same engine, but underneath it's almost the same exact car. If anything, it's the same exact car that's a little bit more comfortable. So that's what I like about this car. And I really do believe that, you know, even though the Huracan is a double clutch and everything, I still think realistically with the ride height and everything and the way this car is designed, I think it has a lot more daily driving capabilities, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why a lot of people who are like scared to pull the trigger on a Lamborghini, they usually go with the R8. I mean, you're not the first person to have done that after the 911. I know so many people that have had that kind of battle in their mind where, like, do I want to go with the Lambo V10 or should I get the exact same car with, honestly, sometimes I think just as good, if not better looking things with the carbon fiber and all that stuff. You really are getting a lot for what you pay for. Absolutely. So I love that. And that being said, I know we're talking about this, but this car really is very, very special. There's a reason why the RS platform has been successful. You've gone from the RS3s, the 4s, the 5s, the 6s onto the 7s, because it's a great car, and I love them all from all the generations. My cousin actually has currently in Jordan the RS6 ABT from 2003. And that's a very special car. It's a really beautiful car. I mean, my uncle used to take me in that car when I was a kid, and I used to drive it. These cars are just so comfortable. They're very comfortable and they're very subtle. You know, they're very subtle, but they really have the capability to just, the grunt they have is so amazing. And it's an Audi at the end of the day. The engineering is there, the German build quality is there. It's very nice. And the interior is underrated, I think, in these cars. Like, people don't understand that you get a very pretty interior. As with all RS, you get the nice carbon trim and you have the beautiful, I don't want to call it diamond stitch. This is kind of like a hex stitching, and yeah, enough good space in the back. So yeah, and my favorite thing about this car, which I actually like more than the R8, I don't like those square rectangular gear knobs. I love this old school circle. It almost tricks you. You think it's a manual transmission, but then it's not. Right. As opposed to this square one. This is kind of like in any S-Class or something, you know what I mean? This is more something like, I would expect this car to have that shift knob and that car to have this shift knob. Yeah. So the fact that they reversed those is pretty interesting. Right. So yeah.
Yeah, this because my previous Audi was in Sepang blue as well. So it was really exciting to find this one. I got it out of Texas, and I didn't even know that it had like the color matching on the interior with the paint color. So with like the stitching in the seats, and then even the blue and the carbon fiber. So that was really unknown to me and very exciting when I came across it.
I know maybe it's too early for me to ask this, but what's the reliability for someone who wants to do? Because I'm assuming you had this car stock before you went to the upgrade, or did you buy it?
Previous owner had done all the upgrades. The only thing that I did was I had the shop redo the meth lines, because they were just using regular puny lines like these to run the meth, and so we upgraded to stainless steel, and they had them actually blowing directly into the turbos before. So so we tweaked a little. So
where were they blowing before? Because right now they are almost blowing into the turbo.
Right. I don't remember exactly where they were blowing, but they changed where it was
routing.
Blowing, the routing of it.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Could have been. Pictures. I think maybe it could have been somewhere here, and then they just kind of put them where it's not directly onto the turbines.
Right.
Yeah. No. Honestly, it does look good. It looks pretty interesting. Like, yeah, it raises a question mark when you open it. Like, what is going on here? What's the power? It's sneaky. Yeah, like I said, this car is just super sneaky. So
it is, because most people do not know what it is when you're going down the road. Only car people will know that it's an RS7.
Yeah, and it is supercar territory, really. If not, as we've seen right now with the R8, like it's especially when they're tuned like this, it's very capable.
Absolutely. gets old.
I love that burpy sound in the RS7. It's such a unique, in all RS cars, I think. Yeah, you can tell it's heavy. Like under braking, it doesn't want to slow down. It wants to keep going straight.
Yes. Yeah, so thank goodness for the big brakes.
Yep. I love how these police officers here, they're just used to me, you know?
It's good friends to have.
Yeah, they are good friends to have. That way, nobody tells me, hey, what are you doing? But obviously now we're going on public roads just to kind of drive the car, so I'm not going to be going too wild. But that burp I love in the RS7.
It's a great
Brr, 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 every time you shift the gear. But I will say, you can tell the Tiptronic gearbox is very different from the double clutch system in the R8, because when I shift here, it kind of reminds me of my AMG a little bit. You really have to plan it if you want to shift manually. Otherwise, as you saw, it's just gonna hit the rev limiter a couple of times.
Funny how the roads in Mexico look so similar.
No, I'm probably gonna cut that part out. I'm not putting that. Yeah, it's amazing how quickly you can go to Mexico in these cars. You'd think it's further away.
We got the express lane to Mexico.
Yeah, yeah, I got the ticket. Yeah.
That's what the easy pass is for.
Yeah, exactly. That's what the quick pass is for. Teleport to Mexico. Feels like I like lowering springs because there's a lot less body roll, let's say. And
right.
I want to, you know, I know some people are interested in this, but they want me to like check the drive mode. You know, comfort. I never drive any car in comfort, even when I'm driving slow. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask about that.
Yeah, comfort. It closes the valves, softens the ride, loosens the steering. It's very boring.
Which is what you need, you know, when you have, like I said, a family in the car, you have kids in the back, you don't want to shake them up, you don't want to wake anyone if anyone's asleep. It's really quiet inside. It's no drone. The only time you'll know you're in a performance car is when you really put your foot down. Otherwise, it's like driving an S7. It is really like driving an S7. It's very, very comfortable, very, very amazing. It's kind of like the M5s and the BMWs are the same thing. Like when you drive them, you cannot tell at some point the difference between that and a standard 5 Series until you actually put your foot down and experience that power. So again, we put it in comfort mode for a little bit. I got bored, so I'm gonna put it back. I'm gonna put it back in dynamic. Okay, and I don't really want to launch it, so I'm gonna roll it and then just put my foot down.
Goes and it wants to go.
Yeah, I'm glad it has those big disc brakes, because when you brake, it's really got some weight to it. So
yeah.
With the R8, you don't feel that. With the R8, you put your foot on the brake, it just bites, puts the front where you want it. This one just wants to go straight.
Well, you drove her the way she likes to be driven.
Yes and no, because a lot of people I think are not going to drive this car this way. I think a lot of people that buy this car, if let's say I don't know, how do I put this in a friendly way? Let's say a well-proportioned gentleman, let's say a well-proportioned gentleman who's a successful businessman ends up buying this car. I don't think it's going to see the sport mode or the dynamic mode very often. I don't think it's going to see that. But again, it's going to give them what they want. It's going to give them that comfort, that dependability. It's going to take them from point A to point B. It's an Audi at the end of the day. It's German, so it's very reliable. But at the same time, if you have that younger guy, again, like I said, like the younger family guy, or even not a family man, even just an RS enthusiast who wants to get behind the wheel of this thing, and he puts his foot down, he's really going to enjoy this. I mean, it's a 200-mile-an-hour car. It's a 300-kilometer-an-hour car. It's crazy. And there's a reason why the RS platform has progressed to where it is today. I know this is a 2017, but still, it's, again, you find these cars in good condition. I wouldn't mind owning this car. I wouldn't mind owning something like this. So it's definitely, I think, a great buy for anyone looking. Yeah, that's that for the lovely RS. And now we go to the R8.
All right,
let's go. Yeah, the atmosphere in this car is different.
totally different.
The stitching and all that is kind of similar. The seat, even the seat, sitting in the seat, it's kind of a similar. That one hugs you, like that's a performance seat. But this car, at the end of the day, you can tell it's just a bit more aggressive.
Right.
Yeah, that sound is just phenomenal. That's beautiful. And the echo, dude, in the background is perfect. Yeah, so basically you close your eyes and there is no freaking way you can tell it's an R8 or a Huracan. Right. Or any Lamborghini V10 in my opinion. As long as it's the same liter. I love how when you put it in performance mode, it raises the RPM a little bit. It's like ready to pounce. There's no sluggish behavior. Alright.
And I find myself, even when it's freezing outside, I drive the car still with the windows down just so I can hear the car.
I would love to do that now, but the camera's gonna hear only wind noise. Right. So let's floor it. Ready?
Yes, sir.
Sounds so good.
It does.
An hour.
I think the RS7 you got up to 117.
Yeah, this was definitely faster. I feel more safe.
Yeah.
Like I know when I want to stop in this car, I know it's gonna listen to me.
Right.
With the RS7, especially with the little bit of extra power that you added to it, it still has the same brakes as stock. And they're ceramic and they're great and everything, but this thing is just, it feels so nimble. Like I feel like I can just put it where I want to. Like the front end of this car is so good.
noticeable differences between this gen and the newer gen?
Dude, honestly, for someone like me who doesn't have a ton of experience in the R8, like I do have enough experience in an R8, but I haven't lived with one. I have not lived with an R8 where I drive it for a couple of months consistently, you know? So obviously you can tell with the electronics, with the new cars, they do feel a bit more nimble, but it's always hard when you're driving a car that's not stock. For example, this one on lowering springs, in my opinion, would feel like a much better driving experience than just having a stock brand new R8. So it's not really a fair comparison ground for me, because I want to tell you that this car, for example, drives a bit better than some of the new R8s that I've driven, you know? But again, that doesn't mean that this car is just from factory better than the new one. It's literally because, first of all, it's a GINTANI tune, so it's very, very spirited when you drive it. It's very aggressive. The other thing is the lowering springs always help with body roll. They always help with that stuff. And the exhaust note when you're driving it, it's just, this is such a good exhaust, and the titanium in general make amazing exhausts. Now, for reliability and long-term use, everybody goes with stainless steel. But honestly, I've yet to see someone with a titanium exhaust that's had some complaints. Maybe online, maybe there are people out there that can tell me, because I've heard that before, where people say, hey, the best way to go is stainless, then the next reliable option is titanium, and then you got Inconel. I've heard of the Inconel pipes breaking a few times. So titanium, I've never heard that, especially on a simple design like the Audi. Usually it's like the sophisticated welds that causes. So it's a tough question to answer.
Right.
But that being said, if I was to answer the question, they all drive great, but they all drive different depending on what you might do to them. The way this is set up right now drives, I think, like one of the best R8s I've driven before, and I've driven a few of them. But again, someone who's lived with one for a couple of months or years or something might be able to answer that question much better than me.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. That, I could say we drove her the way she wanted to be driven.
Yes.
This car is definitely happy with the way we did things. So
absolutely,
it's a phenomenal car. And again, I know these roads pretty well, and I know those bumpy sections that are quite uncomfortable in many supercars, including Lamborghinis and whatever. So even in the RS7, because of its weight, we kind of felt a lot of that hopping sensation. With this car, you don't really feel that. The suspension on this car is really designed in a very, very nice way. So I love the R8 for that. I think the selling point for me for the R8 is definitely not just the sound of the V10 and everything, but drivability and comfort is a factor. Because I know a lot of people say, yeah, you buy these cars, you don't give a shit about comfort, all that stuff. But realistically, if it's the one supercar you want to keep with you, you want it to be at least somewhat comfortable, to where when you're going to drive it on the weekend or whenever you want to drive it, you actually want to enjoy the drive. You don't want to be beaten alive. Right. A lot of these cars with these crazy bucket seats and all that stuff, they're amazing cars when you take them to the track and you need that. But when you're driving it on the road, it's like having someone beat you with a bat the whole time. Right. That's what and that's with some factory bucket seats. So the fact that the R8 doesn't have that, and never really did have that, this car was never about that. That's what I like most about this car.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna be the starting grid person. Usually it's a girl, but I'm gonna have to start this race for them. I'm standing in the middle. It's kind of sketchy, but it is what it is. So he didn't launch very well again.
Did I go early?
Yeah, you did, but that was kind of my fault. I pushed you to cheat. I made you cheat, so I'm sorry for that.
Like the third beat didn't come, but you said go.
No, that was on me. That you jumped to start big time, but that was on me. But I also think he tried to go, but he just couldn't. Go. go! On 3, go. Go, go, go.
On the shift.
Yeah, he did. I could tell he misshifted.
Yeah. That's why you were saying
You gotta shift early.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you wait too long, you're hitting that rev limiter. Kev,
Sorry, guys.
did it hit the limiter? Okay, shift like 300 RPM earlier. Try to do, because you were so neck and neck. It was so close. You ready, Mo?
Yeah.
1, 2, go! Yeah, we did take off first, but still it was a pretty aggressive launch. Dig. Actually, you impressed me at the dig.
Yeah.
It did very good. Viva la Mexico!
Okay.
1, 2, go! Yeah, it pulls. The R8 pulls. I feel like if you do this all day, it could be either this or that. But I will tell you this. When we get moving with a straight line, I think the R8 has it. The R8 pulls, it reels it in. It reels the RS in. Power to weight, bro. Power to weight. But that was cool. That was not bad. Yeah, good launches from both. So that's it for today's video. Again, these are two fantastic machines from 2017. Nothing new really. It's just interesting to compare a beautiful spec R8 that's actually tuned by GINTANI, which is quite aggressive, but you really do feel it when driving this car. Lowering springs and a nice beautiful titanium exhaust that sounds absolutely gorgeous. And this one actually is very, very sneaky because it is a large car. You know, compared to the R8, it's almost twice the size, but pushing 800, 900, 800 horses, 900 torque is quite ridiculous for a family sedan, and ridiculous in a good way. And now I understand why it has the much larger diameter ceramic brake, at least from looking at it. It's because you do really feel this thing wants to move and you need that extra stopping power. Finally, I'll just leave you with, because I know someone is going to ask about the carbon on this car, and yes, not all of it is factory. Everything is factory except for this, the steering wheel, the side skirt, and the front lip over here. But other than that, the car is beautiful, factory, lowering springs on both, and that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you next time. Ciao.